Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As part of the today's session, we are going to cover arrays, a concept that we have in this particular Swift. So what exactly these arrays, collection of a similar data types. If there are a group of values are there, and if there are the same data types, instead of defining in a multiple variables, you can define it in an array and you can store it in an array. An example is, collection of integers. I can define all these integers in an array. So let's go back to our editor Xcode and let us create a simple example for this particular one. Function test example 207 rows, and let me create an array here. So where numbers. So I'm defining numbers here. And there are multiple ways that you can define. And here I'm defining this as a numbers, and that too, that's an integer type. So I'm just specifying the data type here. So 2, 20, 200, 2000. So these are the various numbers that I have defined in this particular arrays. Okay. So let me make it as a let. Okay. Let declaration. So let. Okay. So yeah, let numbers is equal to, so I have a defined these numbers here. That's it, as simple as it is. I have a defined it. So let numbers, and I'm defining all the numbers here in it. Now after this one, how exactly we can print it? So I can use a print statement. Print array values are, okay, print array values are, and there is a column that I want to add slash. So here I can specify these numbers. Whatever the numbers are there, just print those numbers here. So it means, so array values are this one. So when I run this particular function, if you see right now, let it execute and then it see the output, so that we will get to know what exactly that particular chunk is. So if you see here, array values are 220, 200, 2000, all the values got printed down to this particular console. Okay, so this is the way how exactly you can define a basic array. This is a normal array that I have defined right now. But one thing that I can use is, Surendra, as you said that it's not mandatory to define a data type. Why are you defining this data type here? So I no need to define these data types also, like let numbers is equal to, in an array, 220, 200, 2000. I can define it in this particular way also. So whenever I am just executing this particular chunk, the same way it's gonna execute this particular test script. Okay, the same way it's gonna execute that particular test script, and it's just printing all the array values to this particular console. Okay, all the array values were printed down to this console. Good enough. Let me comment these lines. And there are certain requirements where exactly you can create some empty arrays. So EMP data. So this is an array where in which, as it is an EMP data, it's an integer of empty array I'm defining. And whenever I'm printing this EMP data, this data, when I run it, as it is empty, nothing is being printed down here. So this is the way how exactly you can create empty array. Okay, this is the way how exactly you can define an empty array here. So the empty array means the values are nothing. So here the brackets, just the start and the end brackets would be printed. Okay, and usually no matter whatever the array might be, the array values would be retrieved with an index itself. Index 0, index 1, index 2, something like that. You can define an array. So here let me show you that particular example. Let names is equal to Surendra, Suren, Sneha. Okay, these are the three names that I have defined in this names array. So print names of. So I just want to print a 0th index. Whatever the index is there with respect to 0th index, I just want to print that information. So it should print down Surendra to this particular console. The same way, if I want to access the other elements also, see here, name 1 and a name 2. So 0th index means it's going to be the first value. The first index means it's going to be the second value. The second index means it's going to be the third value. So when I run this particular program, all the values with respect to these indexes would be printed down to the console. So this is the way how exactly you can read the values from that array with its index. Okay, that's fine. Surendra, you were able to read a value. Let me add here, read values from array. Okay, now I just wanna write some info into the array. Okay, there is an array basically, and I just want to add some data into that particular array. See, assume that this is the numbers that we are printing down. Earlier, I have created this logic, right? So there are a 220, 200, okay, 2000. These are the numbers, and I wanna add a one more number. So in order to add a numbers to that particular chunk, you can have an append method. Append is an element. I am adding 20,000 to this particular chunk. Okay, I am adding a 20,000 to this particular chunk, which is an append method. Append is a method that we are using. Okay, append is a method that we are using in order to add values. Okay, let me try to run this function and see. Run it and see. Okay, cannot mediate members immutable. Let as a constant. Okay, what happened? So we added as a constant. Okay, so let as a constant. I added a var right now, and let me change it. So when I run this particular chunk, so this is able to add it, and 20,000 got a printed down. So what is the difference? Let means it's a constant basically that can be added. Hence, I have added it as a var, which can be updated that particular information. Okay, which can be added. Okay, which can be added as an append method. So append is a method that we can use in order to write some information into an array. If at all any array is there, and if you want to add some information, in order to add some information, you can use an append method. Okay, that's fine. And if there are two arrays are there, assume that there are two arrays. So I can define var numbers is equal to, I can define var odd numbers is equal to 1, 3, 5, 7. And the same way, where even numbers at this time I'm defining, even numbers is equal to 2, 4, 6, 8. I have defined these two arrays. Now, my objective is I just want to add these two arrays. So here, odd numbers dot append. So I just need to append it. So what exactly I need to append? Whatever the contents that you have in the even number, just add those whole things to this particular odd number. Okay, just add those whole things to this particular odd number. So as of now, the odd number contains both the even number and as well as an odd number. See here, whenever I printed this particular odd numbers, 1357 followed by 2468, the whole things would be printed down to the console. Let us see. Once the execution got completed, see here 13572468. So it means using the append method that we are using right now. Okay, using the append method that you are using right now, you can add. Okay, you can add. Okay, you can append a value basically to that particular array at the end, or even two arrays can be added. Okay, two arrays can be added. So here I'm adding a comment, adding two arrays. Okay, even these two arrays can be added using this particular append method. And of course, we do have an insert method also in order to add that particular values to an array. So let me show you an example. So here, where odd numbers are there. right? This is a var. So what I'm gonna do right now means odd numbers dot, I'm using an insert method. For this insert method, you just need to specify the value and at which index position you need to add. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and I'm giving the index as 4 here. At the fourth index, add this 9 value. So whenever I was printing these odd numbers right now, 13579 also would be printed down to the console. When I run it, 139579 would also be printed down to that particular console. That's it. See here, if you can see the console, 13579. So using an append, you can just add a value at the end, whereas using this index, you can define wherever you want. If I change it to a 0th index means this 9 would be added to the first. So if someone asks you what is the difference between append and as well as an insert, append would be added at the end, whereas for the insert, you can specify in which index you want to add it. So like that, it got added. Okay, append and as well as an insert. This is another method that you have on this particular array. Okay, perfect. And if at all you want to remove an element, you can use a remove at. Okay, for the remove, you just need to use an index there. For suppose this var itself is there. Okay, odd numbers dot remove all, that will be removing all the values. Remove last, that will be removing the last. Remove first, that will be removing the first. Remove at, that will be removing at the specified index. Whichever the index that you want to specify, that will be specifying out over there. Unlike other programmings, you have a sort method which will be sorting down all the values in an array basically. Okay, that will be sorting down all the values in an array, and that too it's gonna be in an ascending order itself. And for suppose there is a requirement that how many values are there in an array. So how exactly we can do that? We can use a count method. Using this count method, okay, using this particular count method, you will get whether that particular, how many values are there in that particular array. The same way, you can check whether that particular array is an empty value or not. You can use an isEmpty method. That isEmpty method will return a true basically if it is an empty value. If it is not an empty value, then it will be returning false to that. Let me try to run this program and see how this is going to work. This function, I'm just executing it. And if you see, basically, this is a false, stating that this is not an empty value. And the total values in this array are a 4. That's what it's returned to the console. So this is the way. These are all the various methods or operations that you can perform on an arrays. Okay. That whenever you are attending an interviews, people will ask you these kind of questions, guys. Okay. Perfect. Done the deal. See you again in the next session. Thank you.